This conference will now be recorded.
How can we start? Hello and welcome everybody to this exciting event sponsored and organized by CMOS Education with the support of Knowledge Point London, UK. I hope all of you are doing great in these hard times for all of us. Can we see the next slide, please? Have you heard about VR developer profession? We are here today to provide all the details related to this profession with our experts and our Unity certified instructors. Next slide, please. I am Miroslav Lanfer. I am head of Unity and Autodesk department in CMOS Education. Also, I am Autodesk certified instructor, Adobe certified instructor, and Adobe video specialist. Next slide, please. Today with us are our expert, Jonathan Linowes, and also Unity certified instructor, Mirjana Taskov, HR manager, Boško Sokolov, Unity certified instructor in CMOS Education, Alexander Rusevsky, Unity certified instructor, also in CMOS Education. Regarding Unity, VR developer profession, we prepared agenda for today's event. What is Unity VR developer? What does Unity VR developer do? Where does Unity VR developer work? Is Unity VR developer a profession for you? Why do you have to become Unity VR developer? How much do they earn? How to become Unity VR developer? How long does it take to become Unity VR developer? But before we continue with the agenda and answer all of your questions, we will start with short presentation about CMOS Education, about our organizer and our sponsor. Who we are? We are CMOS Education, and we exist on the market more than 25 years. We have 103 certified trainers and instructors. We have 327 courses, 34 educational programs, 36 employees, 80,000 students and counting, 12 official academies, 15 fully equipped classrooms, and 15 virtual classrooms. We are offering official training for Microsoft, Oracle, ISTQB, Cisco, Amazon Web Services, EC Council, VMware, Python, Unity, Autodesk, Adobe, ETL, Agile, Scrum. We are also offering other courses such as MS Office, IT courses for children, Linux, HTML5 and CSS3, Android, iOS, UX design, Python, C, C++, PHP, MySQL, project management. And I will discuss it about CMOS education more, but later. Now I am presenting the expert, Jonathan Lyons. I'm giving the mic to Jonathan, or the floor. So Jonathan, are you here?
Hello, everybody. Good evening or good day. I'm in the United States, so I hope everyone is doing well. So I'm going to talk about virtual reality and using Unity to develop virtual reality. And then at towards the end of this, I will actually give a demonstration, and I will then try to answer the agenda questions that were also presented in the previous slide. So can you hear me okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, and I'm now sharing my screen so you can see my screen. Okay, you can see this, yes?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. So I'll just start, at the beginning and say, what is virtual reality? And the what I believe is that the psychology of why we want to have virtual reality goes back to, as long as 35,000 years ago in the caves in southern France. There are cave drawings where it looked as if it was telling a story about a hunt. And you walk into the cave, and there's a drawing that shows the organizing of the hunt. And then as you go deeper into the cave, it shows as this story progresses. And so as you walk through this space, you're immersed in the story on the walls of your environment. Another thing that's very interesting about this is they found evidence of smoke and on the walls where torches had been mounted on the wall to provide lighting, but with a flame flickering, and the texture on the wall made the animals and the pictures appear to actually move and animate. And so it became in modern terms, a very immersive experience. And so I believe, though, that, just like other arts of photography and film and theater and, music and sitting around a campfire and telling stories, virtual reality is another medium that is important in our toolbox or palette of art and communication. So this is, I think, a pretty funny picture of the early days of virtual reality research, but in a sense, it gives you an idea of what it feels like sometimes to be in VR. But even in the last 150 years, with the invention of photography, one of the first things that was tried very early after the beginning of photography is creating separate pictures for the left and right eyes, because with the separation of your eyes, it creates a three-dimensional parallax view. And so this is a stereoscope or ViewMaster, and it's very effective in giving you a sense of three-dimensional. But one of the problems is that when you move your head, it's as if this box of three-dimensional scene is attached to your face, and you're moving. As you move, it moves as if it was strapped on. With the virtual reality, we the scene moves with you. So one of the first time this concept was introduced was with Ivan Sutherland at MIT and Harvard in the early 60s. And but today what we're seeing is really this emergence, this dawn of the consumer virtual reality, and it's made possible by a convergence of a number of different things. One is the smartphone technology, the small displays. We can put that right up against your face, and very high resolution, as well as this tiny components and processors. We have motion sensor technology, which is very effective and is getting, much better at tracking your movement, and so that it knows, the orientation and position and of the device. We also have the video game technology, in particular the graphics processing unit, the GPUs, that provides very high resolution graphics and high speed rendering that is critical in virtual reality, because you have to refresh the virtual scene every frame. And then you have 3D software like Unity, as well as modeling tools like Maya or 3D Studio Max or Blender, and animation tools, and software like Unity is accessible. You don't have to be a huge corporation with a $250,000 budget in order to develop this applications. Anyone can do this from their home. Unity is free. At least, then there are paid versions of Unity with additional services, or if you reach a certain revenue, then you will, are obligated to pay a royalty back to Unity, but certainly the barriers to entry are very low. And so then the final component that makes all this possible is people like you, people like me, who are the developers who are learning to use this stuff and create this stuff and being innovative and doing new things. So when I jumped into it was in 2014, when Oculus was first acquired by Facebook and came out with their developer kit, the DK2. And of course, every year there are new devices, almost new generations of devices, at least every couple of years. That keeps this very exciting, and it's clearly VR is the next new platform. So some of the technologies and aspects of developing for VR include, three-dimensional models, using textures, which are basically just image files that are mapped or wrapped onto the surface of the model to give it an appearance of being a real-world object. And there are some physically based rendering materials that can give you, a sense of texture and shadows and very realistic looking objects, that combined with lighting and reflections. And then of course, taking these models and moving them is animation, and then character animation, making humans and animals actually moving in realistic ways. Physics, so that you have the interactions of objects using mass and velocity and gravity and other physics properties, as well as other aspects that come together. And I don't know if this is true, but I like to tell people that the name Unity derives from the fact that it's a unified user interface for a whole bunch of different subsystems for models and lighting and animation and physics and other things. And so it provides a single editor interface, as we'll see in a few minutes, for then building applications, whether they're games or other, training material, medical. It's as broad and wide as your imagination. I'll also, just want to put in here that while we're talking about virtual reality, there is also augmented reality, a sister technology that is under the umbrella of XR. And so, and just briefly, augmented reality includes handheld mobile devices. So in particular on Android, there's the AR Core tech, and on iOS devices, there's the AR Kit that lets you use your mobile device to combine virtual 3D objects with real world video. You also have your wearable AR like the HoloLens and Magic Leap and other technologies or other devices that you wear on your head. And so that is using, instead of a video feed, it's actually see-through like goggles where the graphics is superimposed. Of course, there's rumors about Apple planning to get into this sometime in the next 2 or 4 years, and we'll see where that brings the industry. That certainly when Apple jumps in, it goes. Technologies often go from being a cutting edge to being mainstream. Also included in augmented reality are the face tracking and selfies. So like, we now have lots of different apps that can do this. It's sort of fun. It's also could be for I guess face tracking also includes face recognition, which is really actually, it's related to that, but it's not really AR. But for AR, it's more of a fun thing to play with, and has been a key technology to the acceptance of and consumer acceptance of AR. So. So some of the skill sets that are required to build an a VR application is, I sometimes I say, if you think about the web and building a website, and there are the graphic designers, there are programmers who might do JavaScript or web frameworks. There are, you have your imaging and photographers, and so it's a lot of different both arts and technical skills that go into making a web. I would say that for VR, it's that times 10 or maybe times 100. And so there's a lot more to know, but it also brings a lot more types of people and types of experience and skills into the fold. And this includes, audio, user experience, 3D modeling and rendering, and animation, which is a career in itself, is learning how to do animations. Level design, which is designing the space, which is also kind of related to architecture and engineering, if you will, and performance tuning and rendering, which is a skill, an engineering skill, and as well as other aspects. So the Unity is the most popular development platform for developing virtual reality projects. There are other engines like Unreal and Godot and others. Um, each have their strengths and weaknesses, but it's people say, well, which one is best? And my first answer is, they're all very similar until you get into the nuance of it, and so you have to look beyond just the the program itself and look at the community and the ecosystem and the tools that you can the plugins and the add-ons and support from other players in the industry. But really, the bottom line is which one is best is the one you know, because what you want to do is get past how to use the tool and move into actually creating interesting content. So yeah, so I guess I kind of spoke to this slide, and important for Unity development is also some C# programming. And if you are a programmer, you will love this. If you have never programmed, don't be afraid of this. It does take a little bit of getting used to the basics, but again, if you compare it to like web development, there's a whole spectrum of capability that may or may not be necessary in order to program in Unity, just like in JavaScript. There are a lot of people that will just go to Stack Overflow and copy paste a JavaScript, 3 lines of JavaScript, and that's all they need because it's really just a script. And you can get by that way with Unity C#. And then there are full-blown JavaScript frameworks for web development. And the same way there are full-blown tools and application architectures for, if you were building a commercial product, you would want to have a programmer on your team, but it may not necessarily be you. And I spoke about these other skill sets. So I don't know if there are any questions so far, or I can keep going. Are we doing okay?
Yes, we are great. Thank you, Jonathan. Continue,
Okay,
please.
thank you. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, when I do these presentations online, it's like recording a podcast because, even though people are live and
Because you don't have feedback like.
yeah, exactly. So I can just keep talking. But anybody, feel free to interrupt or raise your hand to ask a question. That's not a problem for me. So, some of the, what does it mean to be a professional VR developer? What are the things that you might need or use? Um, Certainly you would want to have a VR ready PC. And I do say PC. To date, it's difficult to develop for VR on a Mac. It's possible, but right now the Oculus in particular runtime only runs on Windows. So for the most fluid developer experience, you would want to have a Windows PC. I do teach classes, including university classes, where there are students with Macs and they get by. So it is possible. It's just the workflow is a little more awkward on a Mac or Linux. So, and then I would strongly recommend that you have a VR device. This is the Oculus Quest. There's supposedly a new one about to come out. I haven't read the specs on it yet, but again, this is already a year and a half old, so it's old technology. Then, as a developer, you would want to have something like a source control software. Git is my favorite. It's open source, it's free. It's what this is for is keeping track of revisions and modifications so that if you make a mistake, you can roll back to a previous commit. It's a lot like a checkpoint in a video game, or save point in a video game, where you make it to a certain point, the game gets saved, your project gets saved. If you then move forward, you can make mistakes and come back. It gives you a level of comfort when you're developing that what you do won't break everything because you know you can get back. It's also very important in teams because when you push your project up to a cloud repository, you can then share that project with other members on the team, and your changes will be pulled and integrated with your co-workers project. Speaking of teams, tools like Slack or some other, especially in now, particularly this year, but it's been a trend of remote working. And even if the team still is based in a physical location, people like to work from home or travel. And so Slack is a great tool or something like that. For project management, there's Trello or Jira, or even GitHub has a projects tools that are important as a professional developer. And then there are, web services. So I won't get into it today, but Unity has a suite of cloud services that support your development as well as deployment and tracking analytics of your project. And then there are these other media and apps like, that is a skill, whether you're an expert or not. I'm not an expert in Photoshop or Blender, but I use it, frequently to just go in and make changes to my work. So again, if there aren't any questions, I can jump into doing well, actually I have some slides I'll walk through and then we'll do the live demo. So when you first want to, I can maybe bring up the browser, to install Unity, I didn't bring up this page, you would download, you can, the best place to start is with the Unity Hub. Here we go. So here's, this is unity3d.com, get Unity download, and you would just download Unity Hub. Unity Hub is a tool that keeps track of you can have multiple versions of Unity installed, you can have multiple projects, and one of the practical problems is when I start a new project, I like to start with the then current version of Unity, but in a few months, a new release will come out. You're better off not upgrading your project till you're really ready and everyone on your team is ready. So keeping track of which version of Unity was started and is using which version, which project you have is using, which version of Unity, and Unity Hub keeps track of that. So when you open Unity Hub, you can then create a new project and install versions of Unity and access your projects. And then we'll take a look at the Unity editor, and I'll just briefly give you a tour of this that, like a lot of professional software, it can be a little intimidating the first time you open it because there are many different windows. But as you get familiar and comfortable, it all makes a lot of sense. When you're developing in Unity, I'll show you, there's the scene view that has your 3D view over on the left is, I don't know if you can see my, my mouse. Let's see if that works. Okay, yeah. So over on the left here is a hierarchy that shows you the objects that make up the scene. Over on the right is the inspector that has the properties of the current selected object. And on the bottom are your assets, which are stored, the files on your hard drive that you can use in your project. Now it won't. Oh, I have to hit escape. Okay, let's see. Okay. So yeah, in the scene view, you get a 3D view. You have editing gizmos and options for working with your 3D scene. These gizmos include things like moving it, that's called the translate tool. So you can move it along any one of the 3 axes or, an arbitrary. You can rotate it around the anchor point or the center of a particular object, and you can resize it along each axis. And then this picture here is talking about then using virtual reality and augmented reality in Unity. There is a technology stack that is useful to be aware of. So, at the bottom are these plugins. So this is part of this whole XR plugin platform or architecture in Unity that is relatively recent. So at the bottom are the different plugins that support different physical devices. So whether it's like the Oculus plugin or the Windows mixed reality plugin, or for AR, it could be the AR Core, AR Kit plugin. And these are either provided by Unity or are provided by the vendor. So the Steam VR and the Vive plugin is actually maintained by Valve, I believe. And whereas like the Oculus One in Unity partners with Oculus, but it's actually provided and maintained by Unity. Then these are, for those of you who are technical or programmers, these are actually written in C++. So it's very high performance, but they speak to then the Unity SDK that, and then Unity provides these abstract subsystems that gives you access to the features of the device, but you don't have to know. You can write your project independent of the actual device that you are using. So one of the philosophies of Unity is to create once and deploy many. And this has been the tradition of Unity, that you would build a project, you would create a project, and you could build it for Android, you can build it for iOS, you can build it for Windows, you can build it for Xbox, you can build it for PlayStation. And that same concept is carried forward with virtual reality, that you can build your project and you can create your project and then build it to target different devices. It's not perfect. The technology is new. We're still trying to get it as clean as possible, but it's definitely moving there. And for the most part, you can create projects that are device independent. Okay. So any questions at this point? So, so this is the Unity Hub. And, okay. So this is the Unity Hub that I was mentioning, and when I click on installs, you can see that I have a bunch of different versions of Unity installed, including the current the 2019.4 is the production stable version of Unity, and the 2020.1 is the what they call the tech stable version that uh, has newest features, but it's not in beta anymore. There may also be beta versions and alpha versions of upcoming releases. And then in the projects tab, you can see the different projects. So if you wanted to create a new project, then you would click new, and then you have a choice of different templates that you can use and just give the project a name. Rather than taking the time to do that, I have an empty project already opened. And in this case, I opened it up with the universal render pipeline. So the Unity has flexibility in what they call the render pipeline. That is the processing sequence that and the assets that are used to that may be optimized. In particular, there's sort of the high performance for mobile and VR versus the high definition, which is more AAA style rendering for consoles and maybe high-end VR. This is a sample scene that kind of gives you a sense of the capability. So in this scene, I'm moving around the view using my mouse. And then over here, I can select an object, for example, and then over on the left in the hierarchy, the object is, so this is a safety hat that is currently selected. And then over on the right are the properties of this game object. And you can see it has a transform with its position, rotation, and scale. It has a mesh, which is its geometry, lighting properties, and the material that defines how it's, what it looks like. Likewise, each of these objects have different properties. Let's see. So we have the scene view, we have the scene hierarchy, we have the inspector. And on the bottom here is the project window. These are the files that are my assets that I can use to bring into the scene that I want to use to create things. And this folder actually corresponds to the um, corresponds to the files on my hard drive. So if I, so here's these folders here are the same as these folders here. There's the user interface is very flexible. You can rearrange the windows. So for example, behind the project window is a console window that has information. I could drag this out and make its own panel. You can also open new windows. So if I were to go into like the lighting window, that pops up, gives me my lighting settings. I can drag and drop that into a different tab. So there's lots of, so you can personalize this for your project, for your preferences, for the size of your screen and everything. Let's see. And then there is this game window. This is the view. So in the scene, maybe didn't point this out, but there is a camera object. So this main camera. And let's say if I do a top-down view, I'm not sure if you can see this, but the camera object here, and then it shows the lines that is the view frustum, what the camera can see. And so if this was a VR device, this would be what the user is seeing through the camera. And in the game view is so if you were to hit the play button here, you could see the gameplay through the eyes of the camera in the scene. Okay. So if I were to do a quick demo here, and then so I'll just do a simple demo and then of using Unity, and then we'll create a little game. So I'll create a new scene. So here's an empty scene, and you can see it has a main camera and a default light. And then I can say game object, 3D object, and create a plane. And I'll reset its transform. And so now I've created a 3D plane. And then I can say 3D object cube. And then I can place this cube above the plane. Then let's say I wanted to make this plane, a different color. This is just, this has no materials right now. You can see it's just using a default material. So if I go into my project window and right click, I can say create a material, and I'll call this like the ground material, and put that on the ground. Now you can see it's a white color, and I can modify, the color of the ground. Likewise, well, I didn't, this is a new project, so now then there are other properties as well that you can attach to an object. So if I take this cube, and I'll just bring it up a little bit, and press play, nothing happens because there's no behavior associated with that cube. But let's say I wanted to put some physics on that cube. I can add a component called a rigid body, which gives it physics. So if I say component, physics, rigid body, and if we look at the rigid body, you can see that there's a checkbox for use gravity. So now if I press play, then the box falls. So that's not especially interesting. I'm going to, oh, that's okay. But if, let's say, I wanted it to bounce, I can add a physics property, physics material to the object. So why don't I say create and add a physics material, and I'll name this well, I was going to rename it. Let's see. There we go. We'll call it bouncy. So if I take this and I add a bounciness, let's say between 0 and 1, I give it a 0.8, and I want to set up its bounciness, and then I go to the cube and drag this bouncy material onto the collider. And while I'm here, I'll also show you that if I switch the tool, again, I wonder if these tools still, or maybe it's gonna, yeah, this highlight tool does not let me click while it's turned on. See if that works better. Okay, so if I select the cube and I have the bouncy material, and then I go and turn on the rotation gizmo, I can then rotate the cube, And now when I press play, it bounces. Can you see that okay? I'm not sure how that works over the net meeting. Okay, all right, no news, good news.
Yes, we saw it bouncing.
Okay, good, thank you.
What is yours? Yeah.
That's very helpful, thank you. Okay, so then the the next thing you might say is, okay, this looks nice. It's a 3D scene. You can play it by pressing play. You can save the scene to your project. But now let's say we want to do this in VR. And it's very easy to enable virtual reality in a project. You just go into the edit project settings, and that brings up a new window. And in this window, there's a tab on the left called XR Plugin Management, and you can click on Install the XR Plugin Management. This takes a minute, so I won't do this now. I'll just open a different project. So, in fact, I already have it open, so let me switch projects. Okay. So this is a project where I have now already added the XR plugin management, and I clicked on Oculus to tell it that I'm using the Oculus runtime. And let's see. And then so let me just check. Just get this device set up. Okay, good. So so if I okay, so and then let's see. So then I have my camera, and again, if I press play, it's not in VR, or if I guess it would just be static. It would kind of be like a yeah, it would be like the stereoscopic picture that I showed you, or the ViewMaster, where because it's stuck to your face. What you want to do is make the camera track with your head. And the way to tell Unity that you want the camera to track with the head is to select the camera and then go into component, select XR, and there is a tracked pose driver. So you would add that component to the to this, and then when I press play, now I'm in VR, and you can see that it is tracking with the device. Okay. Now, this is just a basic. This is just the basic component in order to enable the VR camera in your device. The Unity includes a package. It's actually still in beta, but if I were to go into Window Package Manager, you can see all of the packages that are included that are provided in Unity, and some of them are preview packages. And if I I've already installed a package called the XR Interaction Toolkit. And it's going to be released very soon, I'm sure, because this is version 0.9.4, but it is considered preview. And the XR Interaction Toolkit provides lots of extra components and game objects that we can use. So one of them, if you go into XR, you can pick room scale XR or stationary XR. So if I just pick one of these, it now replaces my main camera with, excuse me? It replaces it with a XR rig that has the main camera, and it also has components for the left hand controller and right hand controller. And so now when I press play, if you can see, I can move my hand and point to things in the scene. Okay. So let's create a game. I had prepared some assets that are in a Unity package. And when you want to install existing, when you can import assets that other people have created, and it's in a .unity package file, or there's a whole asset store where you can get lots of free stuff or very inexpensive stuff. And some of them are models, some of them are tools, sound effects, particle effects, all kinds of great stuff. And so when you just go into asset, import package, and you can give it the package name that you want to import. So I have already done that, and in this, this created a folder named demo. And let's create a new scene. So I won't save this. And one of the things I have is a model that I found on an external site called Sketchfab that has 3D models. Let's see if I can open it up. Of of the meme man. I don't know if you know the meme man, but if you ever go on social media, you probably see him in a lot of places. And this is a 3D model that I got, and then it actually comes with too many polygons, so I modified it to bring it down to fewer polys. But I have him as a pre-made object called a prefab, and I bring this into my scene. Okay, so here's our meme man. And then another model that I found is a microbe that I added some extra color and texture to. Okay, so here's so here's a microbe. So we'll name him Corona. And what we'll do is we'll create a little game that has a gun that shoots the Corona microbe at the meme man. Okay, so.
Sounds interesting.
Okay, so the other thing I had done before this was I created a simple scene. So if I go into this scene called setup scene. Okay, so here's a simple scene that has a ground plane, right? Whoops. That's just a plane object, plane. It has a pedestal or table that's just a cylinder. It has a, and then I created a gun. It doesn't, it's a pretty bad looking gun, but it's still, you know, just something simple as a gray box, just a temporary game object that is just a cube and a cylinder. So if you look at the hierarchy of the gun, it has a body and a barrel. And then I also define the tip, which is where the object that I'm going to shoot will come out of the tip of the gun. And then over in the target area, I created just another cube that I stretched out to make a table and 3 copies of the meme man. Okay. So the first thing that we would do is create the scene and then do the game object XR and make it stationary or room scale XR. And once you have that, then you now have a this XR camera rig with the camera. And I disable the left hand, I'll just use the right hand. And then the next thing we want to be able to do is be able to grab the gun. So if I take the gun, you can see the gun object has no components except its transform, its position, rotation, and scale. Let's see. So now what we'll do is we'll make it grabbable. So if I go into component, XR, and there is this, make it a grab interactable. Now the object is grabbable. So if I hit play, if it works. Okay, so let's see, and then I pull it, and now I have my gun, and I can throw it, and I can grab it again. Okay, but nothing happens because the trigger doesn't work on my finger. So the next thing we'll do is make the gun so that you can shoot it. So we'll do that by creating a script. And so I had already written the script. It's called a balloon gun controller. I will double click on it so it'll open it up in my editor, which by default is Visual Studio. It's opening on my other monitor, so give it a second. And you know, when you learn Unity, you'll learn to create your own scripts. This one, zoom up a little bit, but basically some of this is boilerplate template stuff, but you know, every component in Unity is a mono behavior type object, and there might be a start and an update, but you can see I've added functions. This demo was originally written for balloons, but we're using the virus. So there's a function called create balloon and release balloon. And when I create the balloon, it adds it to the scene. And when I release the balloon, it gives it a forward velocity. Okay. And then there's a grow balloon, which is the longer you hold the trigger, the more it grows the balloon. So I can select the gun and then take my balloon gun script and drag it onto the gun. And now over here, again, I wish the pointer was better. Over here, you can see that the gun controller script has been added to the gun, and I just need to set up a couple of properties. It needs to know where the tip of the gun is, that is where to shoot from, and what prefab object to use, which will be our microbe. And then you can see it has a start size, a grow rate, a shoot velocity. So if I take the tip and drag that onto the gun tip and take the prefab microbe and drag it onto there. And then the last step is we need to tell the gun what to do when you pull the trigger. And that is an activate event and deactivate event. So if I'll add a new activate and deactivate event, I'll drag the balloon gun onto those object slots. And then I'll say when I activate the event, I want the balloon gun to create a balloon. And then when I let go of the trigger, I want it to release the balloon. And now when I hit play, cross our fingers. Okay, I can grab the gun, pull the trigger, and shoot. Okay. All right, it worked. Round of applause. Thank you very much. That look okay for everyone? So that's pretty much the demo.
Great.
I have I have another scene that I won't go into the details on this, but you would obviously want to save your work. Here in this scene, it's the same thing, but I've added a reset button. So once you've knocked down all your targets, you can click reset. You could obviously then build the game out, keeping score, have audio feedback with sounds and rewards and all kinds, however you'd want to actually turn this little prototype into a game. But you can see how easy it is to get started. I tell people, developing for VR and Unity is like chess. It's easy to learn and a lifetime to master. Maybe it's not a lifetime, but depending what you bring to the table. So basically, in summary, what we've done is I showed you how to install Unity. We created a new project. We reviewed the editor interface and the different windows and menus. I then demoed creating a new scene with a plane and a cube and some of the properties that you can add to a cube, or to add to a game object, like materials and physics and then we saw that you can then save game objects as a prefab. We had our gun and mean man and microbe are actually prefabs. And then we created a scene for our game and made the gun grabbable by adding a XR component to that, and wrote a script so that the trigger of the gun will instantiate a copy of the microbe, changes its size, and then when you let go, it gives it a forward velocity and shoots it at the target. And because everything has physics, when it hits the target just gets knocked over. There's lots more you can do in Unity. If you look in the package manager, for example, these are the packages that are built into my project, but there are many other assets that are, and the beautiful thing about the package manager is that these features can be updated asynchronous from the Unity core package itself. So Unity has its own release cycle, but these different features, like the Oculus plugin, or here's the Oculus plugin. It's, there's a 1.4 version, but the 1.3.4 is verified for the current version of Unity. So you have access to all these, and you can configure your project based on which features you need and don't need. So, all right. Well, that is my demo, and then I think I can unshare my screen and speak to those other slides that were on the agenda item, if I figure out how to unshare. Stop screen sharing. There we go. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, you can continue, Jonathan.
Okay. Did you want to share the slides again?
Yes, I will ask my colleague Mirjana to share again. So just a second.
Wait a minute. This was not what I was going to share.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that was.
Just go back to the agenda. I think that the agenda is what was Jonathan was referring.
Okay.
Yes. Or maybe the
Okay, do you see it? Do you see it, Miro?
No, it's only Jonathan slide. Can you share the agenda?
Let me try again.
Okay. Jonathan, you mean on the question or on the agenda?
I was thinking if there were slides after my demo, but I don't know if you changed it since I last saw. But I can. There was like a slide 14 or something.
Okay. Mirjana, can you go forward? Where are only the questions after the CMOS education? Yes, after the CMOS education, you can go forward after the CMOS education. Where are the after the after this?
Yeah.
And this.
There we go. Oh, you don't have those. Okay. Well, actually, you know what? If you want, I have my copy. I can.
Yes.
Sorry for the confusion. Let me share my screen again.
Okay.
So, I mean, there were some questions here in the agenda. There we go. Present. Yeah. There we go. Can you? Oh, that's the wrong screen. There we go. There we go. Okay, so some of these things I have already spoken to, but in a more formal question answer format, I may repeat myself. So what is a Unity VR developer? There is a spectrum or a constellation of for this answer, but we can boil down to the sort of the programmer side and the artist side, and we all kind of fit in it somewhere along the spectrum. And at least if I'm not an artist, I want to be sensitive to, I have to sometimes do artistic things. Or if you're an artist, you're not a programmer, but you need to be able to speak speak to the programmers and understand what the programmer does and how that works. So it is this spectrum. And there's no one single answer to what is a Unity VR developer. I guess, part of the answer is you are, if you want to be. But then also, there's a difference between sort of your own pet projects, or if you're an independent consultant doing prototypes versus being on a team, and then you have to figure out who you are in relationship to the other team members and the other skills that are available on that team. So what does a Unity developer do? Again, there's this whole timeline or cycle of development. There's the design, and this is really similar to any professional developer role. Or there's the design and planning phase. You may do prototyping. That's probably maybe more important in 3D and VR than in other disciplines. Prototyping is very important because you want to isolate and develop just small parts independent of the whole and test out how you want to approach something. Becoming familiar with Unity and expertise with Unity and so your Unity development. The C# programming, as I mentioned, is important. It could be your main stream, or it could be you're just using components that were written by other people. Testing and troubleshooting is an art in itself. Nothing ever goes right. Luckily, my demo today went right, but that was simple. Eventually, things don't work, and you need to have the skills to troubleshoot and figure out why. At a certain point in the project, preferably earlier rather than later, you would actually do a build that runs on the target device, because even if it runs in Unity, it may not run the way you expect on the VR device. So you want to make that part of your development process, but then actual production builds at the end, or let's say you're doing alphas, and basically to distribute the project to other stakeholders. You would need to work on that. There's a lot of extra or additional things you have to do for the production side as opposed to the creative development and user experience side. So, again, where can a VR developer work? It's really just like lots of other technical careers. There's the large corporations, which now presently you may end up in an advanced projects department or some kind of technology group, even if it's a financial company or a consumer products company. But it could be like for corporate training, for example. They may already have a training department. They're exploring using VR as a new medium, but it still would be considered new. It's gradually becoming much like Walmart, and some big corporations have integrated VR into their core training process. Then you have medium-sized businesses that, maybe they're, the VR is part of a special client service. So it may not be their core business, but let's say it's travel and hospitality, but they have a client that says, well, we want a VR tour of our hotel or something. And so then it's a part of their repertoire of services that are offered. And then you have your small startups and small businesses that may actually specialize in VR products, games, consulting work, and because they're small, that's their niche. And if it's just you and some friends, or you put together a small team, an indie studio, you have your own concept of what you want to build. So uh, those tend to be sweat equity. um, but it can be very rewarding. And so, this, you had proposed this to me to answer. I really can't answer this for you, but it certainly is something I love and enjoy, and uh, gets me up every day. So again, why become a Unity XR developer? Really, I think the bottom line is that VR and AR is the next generation of computing. VR is the immersive side of that spectrum, and AR is the is more like an augmentation of data um, overlay over the real world. There's a lot of overlap in terms of skill sets. So if you learn VR, you can uh, do some AR stuff, and vice versa. Maybe more so from VR to AR than AR to VR. But there are some numbers. How much do they earn? I just Googled like on Indeed, and there was some things popped up. So if you look up this, you can see there are jobs listed both for artists as well as Unity developers. And Unity itself publishes statistics. Did I include that? Well, there is a link somewhere in the Unity Learn site. Maybe I'll find that. But meanwhile, what does it then take to become a Unity VR developer? Well, clearly, you need to learn. You can jumpstart that with workshops, and there's also lots of online tutorials, reading through the Unity documentation. Unity itself has great learning materials, but having an instructor, that combined with an instructor-led workshop, is very effective. There's statistics that people that try to do courses on their own never finish it, but if you are part of a class or have a live instructor, you'll be much more engaged. And but in addition to that, though, you need to experiment. You need to have work on your own stuff, run into roadblocks, try to figure out problems, gain experience through that process, and don't be afraid to try new things. And also don't be afraid, don't be intimidated by the amount that it takes to learn. You can do it in small bites, as I say. And then really, to put yourself out there in the market, create a public profile, build a portfolio of projects or screen captures, getting certified. Unity has a great certification program that is a credential you can use in your public profile looking for a job, and networking through meetups and conferences and social media. So I guess really, How long does it take? Too much. There's always too much to learn. There's always too little time. But the more you let your passion drive it, and you just keep pushing forward. Um, and the other thing is, I tell students, is there are many roles you can play. So even if your goal is to become a VR developer, but your background is as an artist or is a IT person, on teams, particularly larger teams, there are a lot of roles that you can play, and to have the Unity skills makes you attractive on the team, even if that's not actually what you're going to do in your day-to-day work. You are part of that, become part of that team. Okay.
Thank you
Oh,
very much. Thank you
yeah.
very much. Thank you very much. I would like to say, I would like to invite our two UCIs, our two Unity certified instructors, Alexander and Boshko, so they can talk more about our academies and what is our offer. So I think that first will be Alexander. Okay, Alexander, do you listen? Do you listen to me? Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yana, can you share your screen, or Alexander, you have your screen? It's no problem.
It is shared mirror. I can see that it is not what you are looking at but it is shared.
Okay. Alexander, do you have your screen?
Let me try again.
Okay. Alexander, I can make you a presenter. So I think that you have the PowerPoint presentation, so you can speak or you can share it. Can you do that?
I can't share the screen.
I will give you the permission for share your screen if you have the presentation. Okay, I will
yes,
give the. Okay. Now you are the presenter, so you can share the screen and you can continue.
Thank you. So as Miron introduced me, I am one of the two Unity certified instructors over at SEMOS. I will speak a little bit about the Unity Game Development Academy. So we have two. We have the Virtual Reality Academy and we have the Game Development. Now, the game development is the more generic one, obviously. It's meant to give the participants working knowledge about a wide array of systems of Unity. So it's not specific for virtual reality, but instead focuses on a more general skill set. So the participants will learn, as we can see, programming in C#. They will learn also some software like Photoshop, Maya, and Substance Painter that is supposed to give the participants a solid backbone as a game developer, because you can't just know Unity and be a game developer. You need some other stuff as well. So we start off with the introduction to programming in C#. So you will be looking at a lot of this stuff. You don't be intimidated by this. You don't have to like it. You don't have to focus in programming as a game developer. You can be a technical artist or a VR artist. So that's not a must, but it is good to know. It is good to know how Unity uses C# for well, pretty much everything. Next up is the Unity 2D unit. So each of these is a specific course with specific amount of classes. The Unity 2D is the Unity 2D teaches basically the foundations of Unity. Kind of what Jonathan was talking about was actually showing. But of course, it's more expanded. It teaches the navigation in Unity, navigation in the editor, in the scene editor. It also you also start coding a bit in here, so you get to use the input API. You build a user interface for your game. So these are some specific to the stuff. Next up is the Photoshop, Maya, and Substance Painter. Now I think I don't need to introduce Photoshop. Everyone knows Photoshop. Substance Painter is used as a texture painter. So you get the models you learn to model in Maya, and here you texture you paint the textures, as we can see from this clip, onto them and other stuff. It's a very powerful tool. Next up is the programming in C#, but this one is the advanced version. So up to this point, we've been coding in C# and Unity, but here we start to learn some more advanced stuff because we will need it for the Unity 3D course. We touch on some design patterns that are very common in game development, and also some specific advanced stuff about Unity. Now, next up is the Unity 3D course. This one teaches a very wide array of systems of Unity. So here you learn animation, you learn particle systems, you learn, of course, to code. There is a lot of coding here because we code a lot of mechanics. So you have terrain, how to build terrain. Actually, I have the project, one of the projects that we've been working on. So you can see we build the world, we populate it with trees, with models. We import models from the asset store or models that we've created ourselves. So it's a pretty big course that uses everything we've learned so far. And we work in a project, just like in Unity 2D course, where you work on 2 projects. In Unity 3D course, you also work on a project that you can use later on as the final project for the course. So you kind of work your way through all of this in order to produce a game project of your own, something that is unique, that you've thought of, maybe that is based on the projects we've been working the whole academy, or maybe something else. I've had students that made completely different things, which is awesome. And that amounts to the curriculum of the Unity Game Development Academy. If you have any questions, feel free to ask about this academy. Going once, going twice.
Okay, can we continue with the slides? Alexander, can you share your screen and continue share your screen, or maybe Boshko will continue, I don't know. Boshko, are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So I think
All right.
Alexander, you can leave your screen share.
Yeah.
So, yes, Boshko, you can start about Unity Virtual Reality. Okay.
All right. Hello everybody. I am Boshko Sokolov. I am a Unity certified instructor and a Unity certified programmer. I teach at CEMOS, and today I'll tell you about our Unity Virtual Reality Academy. Um, all right, so we have some mandatory modules and workshops that we go through with this academy. So we start off with teaching the programming in C# for Unity basics. So this is to cover all the basics of programming. A lot of you probably haven't had any experience with programming with any programming language. So with the basics, we are going to cover through the main elements of programming, which are also applicable in all programming languages. So, but in this case, we are using C# and Unity to see the basics of programming, which is a lot easier than actually working with, I don't know, with C or C++, because when you're starting out, I think it's very important to have a visual representation of what you're doing, and Unity is a great tool for that. So we'll be teaching the basics of programming with Unity. After we cover the basics, we are going to move on to introduction to the development of Unity 2D, or working with a Unity 2D. Now, you might be asking why we are going to cover Unity 2D in virtual reality when all virtual reality apps are by default 3D. So when we are starting out in Unity, it could be a lot of information and a lot of new things that we have to learn, and just jumping right into 3D could make things even more complicated. So by removing one dimension, right, so removing the depth of the game, and that is basically a 2D game, we are actually just going to learn the basics of Unity so that we can continue with more complex ideas and mechanics that are in Unity and that we need to work with. So we are going to cover the Unity 2D after we have a solid grasp of the working environment of the Unity editor. I think then we can continue with adding the third dimension, or working with Unity 3D. Now, it's not very different from Unity 2D, of course, and all the basics of programming are also applicable in Unity 2D and Unity 3D, but by adding this third dimension, we add more complexity and more stuff that we can do, and we are actually getting closer to the VR project we want to make. After we cover the basics of the editor and Unity 2D and 3D, we are going to continue with programming in C# for Unity and advanced skills. Now, what are advanced skills? That are more complex ideas or more complex ways to solve problems, which end up being quicker, or actually, after understanding them better, we know that they're not so complex actually, but we need to have the basics ready so that we can continue with some advanced skills or advanced programming with C# in Unity. Now, again, we'll be working on a project in Unity all this time, and all the new information and all the new mechanics that we're going to learn, we are going to apply them to our project, to our final project that we want to make. And like I said, all VR apps or games or whatever, and AR apps and games are 3D. So our 3D project that we're going to work on in the module Unity 3D is actually transferable to virtual reality, and it's made quite easy with Unity. That's the great thing about it. But there are some other things that we need to keep in mind, that we are developing a VR game from the start, because most people are not used to VR and what limitations and what we have to keep in mind when developing a VR game or app, because we're used to like looking through a screen and playing the game. Maybe it's a first-person shooter where we see from the screen and we turn our mouse and the camera turns. Maybe it's a third-person game, or any kind of 3D game. It's made differently with each other, and there's no difference with VR. We have to keep in mind some things when we're working on the app. Like we're not looking through a screen. We don't have a mouse to turn the camera. We are actually inside the world, right? We are inside the world we are creating. So it's not the same as working on other projects that are 3D in Unity, but the mechanics and the logic is still there. But we have to keep in mind some things when we're developing VR and AR. And like I said, we're going to work on projects and implement the ideas, mechanics, and everything we learn into those projects. So we want to have by the end of the academy a complete project VR that you can test, play, share, and is actually you can show your friends this project depending on if we work with VR or AR. But still, we are going to so the main goal is to develop a complete VR and AR project by the end of the academy. Maybe this all sounds too much, or maybe it sounds simple, but I think the way this academy is structured, that we have all the necessary parts covered, and if you want to develop a VR or AR app or game, and you're not sure how, I think by the end of the course you'll be able to work pretty much on any idea you have. So yeah, that's our Virtual Reality Academy. I hope you'll like it.
Thank you, Boško. Are there any questions? Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Boško. Thank you very much.
No
we have just a few slides left. I will ask my colleague Mirjana to share your screen so we can continue. Mirjana? Mirjana, you listen? Okay, Alexander, Boško, do you have the slides? Alexander, I think you have the slides, but I'm not sure.
Yes, I have the presentation.
Do you have the presentation? Do you have the price list?
Yes.
Yes. Can you share it, please?
Sure. Can you give me the right to
Yes.
share?
Right.
Thank you.
So I can say a little about the payment. As you know, CMOS Education is the first and the only Unity authorized training center in this region. So we have Academy for Virtual Reality and Academy for Game Development. And also we have 4 workshops. You can check those workshops on our website. So for the price for the academies, the price for the first academy of virtual reality is 1,800 euros, priced with 15% discount for early birds for payments before 31st of August. And the price is 1,570 euro. For the academy for game development, regular price is 1,500 euros. and price with 15% early bird discount for payment before 31st of August, and price with discount is 1,275 euros. Can you change the next screen? Can you? Okay. Are there any questions? My colleague Miriam, I don't know, she was supposed to speak about networking and the career center in SEMOS education. Just please, can we wait a little?
I don't know if she thinks we can hear her, but we can't.
Yes, I'm ringing on her phone right now. So
Okay. Yes. Can you see me now? Can you hear me?
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
it's okay.
Okay. Finally. I don't know what happened. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to present you the Career Center, which operates within SEMOS Education. As Miro mentioned, we are working for 25 years now, delivering trainings, but it was like just a few years ago when we figured out that we are working with students, with unemployed people and employed people who are trying to make a career change on one side, and then we were also working with companies and with business sectors. So we figure out it would be a good idea if we can match those two sides and present our attendees to the business community. What we are doing with it is, as I mentioned, presenting students, our attendees who have outstanding results. So unfortunately, we cannot recommend everyone. We can only recommend those who are regular at classes, who are working their exercises and actually putting some extra effort into what they're doing here with SEMOS education. We already have a record of successful stories, and just to illustrate that, I will bring out two examples. We had a banker who wanted to make a career change, and he was attending our Power BI classes, and past 9 months he has been our colleague. He become lecturer at SEMOS Education and our data analyst. And just another example is our intern in marketing department, Triste, who also attended our graphic design academy. Basically, this is it what I wanted to share with you regarding the Career Center. Maybe just to add that we can support our attendees and listeners in making their CVs, in career consulting, and we also provide big discounts to our listeners for soft skills trainings. I believe that now the question and answer Q&A session follows. Miro.
Yes, we are waiting. We ask once, twice. We are waiting for a question. So
Okay.
anybody? Are there any questions for today? Event, lecture?
Well, in case you are tired, you can always reach out later to whomever you want from this session.
I have a question, actually. Do you require VR hardware for the VR Academy?
Yes. Maybe Boshko and Alexander can say more about this, but yes, we require VR hardware for this academy. since now it is every hour lecture and every hour class is online, so it will be a little problem, but I think that we can handle this. So Boshko and Alexander can speak more about this. Boshko, Alexander, are you here? So
Yeah.
yes.
All right. So for the VR, it's imperative to have some hardware. Um, Maybe it's a mobile phone, but with the mobile phone, we can just put it in some type of VR device, like VR glasses. But as I know, as Miro told me, we're working on getting hardware. So maybe the Oculus Quest or something that has spatial recognition, because phones don't have the spatial recognition. We can, of course, make games and apps for with VR and for the phone, but we can't do everything like we can do on the Quest. And again, for the basics, I think we can handle them with a phone that has a gyroscope. And the same goes for the AR. It's just we just need a phone that supports uh, augmented reality, and but even if it doesn't support, there are a lot of libraries that we can use and still have augmented reality without using the big names like ARCore or ARKit. So not to get sidetracked, but yeah, of course, some hardware is required for the VR Academy. And for the Air Academy, I think you just need to have a phone, a smartphone, and I think everybody has a smartphone. So yeah.
We are in a process of acquiring equipment, so there is no problem for equipment. But since this Corona time happened, we are having a little difficulties with acquiring the equipment, but we are already there. So I think that it will be no problem. Like Boshko said, there are solutions for all of this. Okay, any other questions? That's it.
Did we answer the last question that is written in the chat?
Let me see. Do you have positions that are not related to tutoring? Admir Sitnich, can you explain more? What are you referring? What are you? I don't understand the question. Maybe.
Admir, to whom would you like to address your question? Career Center? Yes, actually, as I mentioned, the examples for illustrations of our hires, of people that we hired, but actually, as I said, we are presenting those candidates to other companies as well from the IT industry. So yes, of course, I think that we successfully placed many developers the past year as well. I'm not sure about Unity developer, but I remember a guy in his late 30s who obtained a position as Java developer. So the answer would be yes, we do have positions that are not related to tutoring. You're welcome.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you all. Thank you for attending this event. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Boshko. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Mirjana. So we are available if any of you have any other questions that are related to this event or maybe related to any other thing regarding CMOS education. We are available. You can find us on the web. You can, excuse me? Excuse me? Anybody said something? Okay, maybe. Okay, as I said, we are here. You can find us on the web. You can find us on the phone. So thank you very much. Thank you very much all for attending this event. I hope you enjoyed it.
Have a great evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.